We are now in section 4. Section 4 is about the SAM practices. In this section, we will begin with understanding the various tiers, and we look at some examples of software maturity at the 3 tiers of SAM. We also take a quick look at the SAM information structure, and we do look into details of how to prepare to implement the tiers, and then briefly the concept of continual improvement, and also finally a few things to verify or to be in order for any SAM initiative. There is also a case study. We will go through that and see how we can prepare to implement SAM in this case study. The remaining sections, which is section 5, 6, and 7 later on, also have the case study continued. So, as I mentioned, by the end of this module, you should be able to describe the generic tier practices, the 3 tiers that is. How does the SAM framework exist, and the tier framework in particular, and the various processes therein, understanding the maturity levels of the 3 tiers, and how to implement it, how to prepare to begin to implement it. For implementing SAM, there has to be some objective, and the objective for planning for SAM is to ensure appropriate preparation and planning for the effective and efficient accomplishment of SAM. Implementation approach for SAM happens through 3 tiers. We begin with tier 1, move to tier 2, and then eventually to tier 3. The tier is a precondition before we can move to the next upper level tier. Tier 1 is about trustworthy data. Achieving this tier means knowing what you have so that you can manage it, which means data should be in place. The relevant required data should be first made available before we can move to tier 2, which is about the lifecycle process integration, which is about improving efficiency and cost effectiveness for SAM. And once that is achieved, then we can move to tier 3, which is about optimizing, which is improving the efficiency and cost effectiveness even more by bringing in some functional focus. So let's understand what those are very briefly. We have separate sections dedicated for each tier of implementation afterwards. Tier 1, trustworthy data, which means it's about bringing in change management, core data management, license management, and security management. Tier 2 is about lifecycle integration, bringing in the cost efficiency and effectiveness, whereas tier 1 was about establishing the basic data availability. So tier 2 is about the entire life cycle to make it efficient from a cost perspective and effective as well. So through specification, acquisition, development, release, deployment, operation, and retirement. And we understood all that in the previous section already. Tier 3 is about further improving the efficiency and effectiveness of SAM by bringing in other processes, the functional processes, 4 more, which are the relationship and contract management, financial management, service level management, and other risk management. So together, if you look at, we have at the bottom here, we have the 7 life cycle management processes, which are at tier 2, whereas we have these 8 functional management processes, which are split into tier 1 and tier 2. So 4 of the 8 functional processes are applied in tier 1, and the remaining 4 functional management processes are applied in tier 3. Which means that the items numbered 3 further improve the efficiency and effectiveness of SAM, whereas the items numbered 1 bring in the basic SAM. Now that we know tier 1 is trustworthy data, 2 is lifecycle integration, and 3 is optimization, practically tier 1 allows us to report compliance, tier 2 allows us to integrate with other processes within the organization, and tier 3 allows to make and save money. Let us look at some examples of software maturity. In this chart, we see there are 3 bars. Bar 1 has the least height, then we have 2 and 3, WinZip is representing bar 1, Oracle bar 2, and Microsoft bar 3. This chart is mainly about the software license and control maturity. So it's possible that SAM is already in place and it's being improved, or SAM began as a reactive approach, or that some amount of SAM existed and it was further improved. So in case of WinZip, there was some initial inventory and reporting, but it was never improved. It was a small manufacturer. Oracle, once the SAM work started, it became evident that there was a greater need for getting it more under control, whereas Microsoft, the work with SAM began before there were any kind of challenges and reporting was already in place. Then we have a little bit on the SAM information structure. We have at the top system management, then we have service management in the middle, and we have the software asset management at the bottom. We see that there are connections between these layers. Service management is about the overall IT service management, which has a lot to do with contracts, the service asset and configuration, and data, and the software media library, and many other things there. Systems management is the overall view of the entire IT, including infrastructure and operations. And at the bottom, we have focused particularly on SAM. That's what we are more concerned about. And it shows two asset databases. One of them is the asset inventory and the other is the asset repository.